I've always been fascinated by the fantasy genre and the psychological thriller genres, and so I always wanted to do a dark fantasy film. And what attracted me to the project when I read the original draft of the screenplay that it afforded that opportunity. Here you had like fascinating concept about a person's life being taken over by their imaginary friend, and and the character of Victor Orange, is quite fascinating. Kind of this sophisticated cultured gentleman on the one hand, but also decadent, hedonistic, sociopathic, villain on the other, combined into one character. There hasn't really been something like this done in South Africa before. There've been very interesting short films, but not in like the longer format, and where you can like really go into the characters and into the backstory, and the details of it. So what I said right from the beginning is that we're making a fantastic film, but in order to kind of take it a level away and above, your standard kind of sword and sorcery epic, is three things. One is to have an interesting story that kind of, goes with that works for the genre that we're working in, but at the same time, avoids kind of the typical cliches of the fantasy genre. Then secondly, the characters need to be psychologically very, very realistic and believable, very grounded. Okay, this is like real people in extraordinary circumstances, not extraordinary characters, fantasy characters in extraordinary circumstances. And the third thing was to create a truly original fantasy world, something that's distinctly South African yet quite unlike anything anybody has seen before. And that's where as the script developed, where the idea came in of setting it in a very particular environment, kind of the working class, lower middle class community of Johannesburg, and using the history and the subculture of the South African mining industry as a kind of a social and socio-economic and cultural context for the story. That's where it started evolving, and started out as an idea for a short film, but then just kind of we realized that this thing's just on such a big scale and quite ambitious project that it lends itself to being told on a bigger scale. And it's wonderful. It's challenging on every level. It's challenging on a story level for reasons that I've spoken about before, on an acting level, I always said that I wanted the characters to be portrayed the way characters are portrayed in kind of like a very gritty domestic drama, and but then put that into this weird context. And then thirdly, on a technical level, here we are on a mine dump in the West Rand of Joburg, and we're trying to turn it into, like this vast landscape, endless landscape on another planet, another world, another dimension.
It seems to me like you're attracted to the character of Victor more than all the other characters in the film. Are you usually attracted to villains more than...
Okay, that's a good question. Let me rephrase that. Yes, Victor is fascinating, but an important thing is that Victor and Ida is the same person. So it's a Victor and Ida. Let's rather put it this way. Cut out what I said before. Victor and Ida is the same person. So it's kind of a composite character. Victor is the dark side of Ida's personality, her subconscious. And that creates very interesting opportunities in the performance. Tessa, who plays Ida, basically through the course of the story, as Victor exerts his influence over her more intensely and more profoundly, she starts kind of acting more and more like Victor, until by the end of the story, the kind of the later parts that we're going to shoot next year, she becomes Victor. She's going to have all these mannerisms, the rhythm of voice, the tone, the personality, because basically he possesses her in the end. This first episode, the first act, we just see the introduction between them. He kind of returning after years ago after she created him during her childhood. But yeah, I mean, dark characters fascinate me, and and I like the thriller genre. You know, it's a cathartic experience. It gives you the opportunity to work in the genre like thriller. You can deal with serious topics, dark topics, without alienating your audience, because you're still giving them an entertaining ride. You know, you're still taking them on a fun adventure. So yeah.
And did you have an imaginary friend as a child?
Funnily enough, not. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Well, there was a robots. Okay, I'm not going to go into the robots, but yeah.
No, tell us
at
about
some
the
points.
robot.
No, you don't want to know. No. I just had like I grew up in a mining town like this, so this was a huge source of inspiration, and spent a lot of my childhood in areas like this, just daydreaming and stuff. And at some point, I had like in the underground mining tunnels under Orkney, my hometown. I had an army of robots stored down there, ready to be called up to go and help the UN or whatever when there's a big world war. I can just press a button, all the robots rise to the top.
Cool,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.